What is going on, NPL fans? My name is NoPunIntended, and welcome to a special analyst show where I will be going through all the matchups for Week 10 of the Majors, and talking about what those matchups mean for the upcoming playoff race. If you guys enjoy the video, please make sure to leave a like or a comment on it. I would very much appreciate it, and I'm sure many of the people in the NPL would as well, although they haven't told me that over the past couple of weeks, but it hasn't stopped me from putting out this content for you, so deal with it. Anyway, let's get into the current standings in the National Pokeball League with one game to go in the regular season. In case you aren't aware, 8 of the 16 teams in the National Pokeball League qualify for the playoffs in the Majors. Now, the funny thing about the current standings as of Week 9 is that every single team has at least 3 wins, but only 5 of the 16 teams have more wins than losses. It just goes to show how competitive and evenly matched each of these teams are. So what I aim to do in this video is to discuss each of the 8 matchups in Week 10 of the Majors and talk about how those matchups correlate to the playoff chase. And I guess I'll also make my picks for each of those matchups, even though my pick'ems videos haven't necessarily been that popular, but what are you gonna do? But we'll start off with each of the games that have no effect on the 8 playoff teams. Beginning with the Tampa Bay Frogadiers against the Detroit Butterfrees. This matchup could have potentially held some playoff intrigue, but unfortunately Verd decided to forfeit his matchup to Zazo and drop out from the National Pokeball League prior to the postseason. Which is really disappointing because I was looking forward to a new Zazo video. How am I supposed to get it if there's no game being played? Come on, Verd, think of the fans. What is an upload league anyway? While the NPL certainly wishes Verd all the best in the future and thanks him for his years of service in the league, that takes all the drama out of what could have been a potentially intriguing game. As it stands now, this game means nothing for the playoff race. Zazo is ineligible as he's only played 3 games of the 10 in this season. And if a game does get uploaded, it will likely be with an interim coach filling in for Verd, and that coach being ineligible as well, considering they'll only have played 1 out of 10 games this season. Regardless, we've already spent a bit too much time on this game. Let's move on to the Sydney Sharpedos and the Gotham City Golurks. This is another game that will go down as a forfeit, as Rob has elected to give the win to Gypsy, presumably to avoid showing any potential postseason strategies he might have, which I can't really blame him for. This game means nothing. Both Rob and Gypsy are in the playoffs. Each coach should get a little more time to size up their current teams and the matchups they will have in the future. That's not the only battle we had this week of first and second place teams in their respective conferences. Maddie and Aster are also playing in the final week of the NPL regular season. And once again, both of these teams have already clinched playoffs, so this game shouldn't matter that much to either of them. We may see a meme game, we may see a forfeit game, we may see just acknowledgement of existence and both teams will take a tie or something. I know that's a pretty scummy thing to do, but I've had it happen to me before and I lost a first round bye because of it, so that's why it's in my head right now. Still a bit bitter about it actually, but we'll move it on to our next game, the San Francisco Regigiants and the Anaheim Altarias. For Merc, this game doesn't really matter all that much. He's already assured his playoff spot, and it's not like he really has the best matchup anyway for this kind of game. I've mentioned before that Ace has better special bulk than he does physical bulk, and Merc's most prominent threats would be his Tapu Lele, Heatran, and Zapdos, those being his first 3 picks. So it would make sense that Ace would have a better matchup against that trio than most other teams in the league, especially considering that Alolan Muck is one of the best switch-ins to Tapu Lele in the entire format. Except Merc also has a Doug trio that completely craps on Alolan Muck and a potential Empoleon switch into the other special attackers. Couple that with the fact that Ace hasn't necessarily been the most enthusiastic NPL coach about Mons as of late, and it's difficult to get behind him as a result. I've bet against coaches who have been leaving the format lately and have become mostly disinterested, so I'm going to keep that theme going and take Merc, even though I don't like his matchup as much as I do many of the other winning coaches, but he's got his head more in it right now, at least from my outsider observation, so I'll take him. But we'll now transition to the games that mean a heck of a lot more for the postseason. We'll start in the Premier Conference where there's 1 playoff spot remaining and 2 teams fighting for it. Cheese and the Phoenix Sunkern have the inside track, as if they beat Blake and the Baltimore Braviaries, they will clinch. Now, I'm actually very confident in Cheese being able to win this game, strictly because he has Kyurem Black, and that mon, if it runs Ice, Electric, and Ground coverage, which it has the potential to, can easily deck Blake's entire squad, with the exception of Mew, Gastrodon, and Wigglytuff, who don't take super effective damage from any of those attacks. But Gastrodon and Wigglytuff specifically do not have high attacking stats, so the burden falls on Mew specifically, and when a burden falls on Mew, it's not good for it because then it shoehorns it into a specific role when it would rather be a bit more creative with what it's trying to do. And Cheese does have a lot of wall breakers on his team to get past Blake's middling bulk. I mentioned that Gastrodon's really the only sort of wall he has, as most of his other bulky mons don't get reliable recovery. I mean, maybe Arcanine, I guess, but it's not like that thing is a good matchup against mons like Volcanion and Gigalith. So I just think that Cheese has a bit more offense available to him and will be able to break past Blake's entire squad before Blake can do the same to him, which would clinch Cheese the final playoff spot and render our next game completely meaningless. That being David's FC Popplio against Adam's Houston Soul Rockets. If Cheese does lose his game against Blake, though, then David can get in with a win against Adam. Still not very easy for him. I maintain that Adam has played way better than his record has indicated, but then again, I could say that for a lot of coaches in the National Pokeball League, so my words don't mean very much. But a mon that will mean very much to this game will be Greninja. In my estimation, it has one of the best matchups it's had all season, with the potential for Water Shuriken shenanigans against some of Adam's fast yet frail Pokemon, such as Mega Lopunny, super effective stab moves to hit Blacephalon and Hippowdon, and just a decent amount of power behind it. Greninja is probably one of the best mid-tier mons, and I think it will be able to put in a lot of work right here. Now, one thing I didn't mention for both this game and the last game is that Blake and Adam are both fighting in order to avoid relegation to the minors next season, so they'll likely be giving it their all, and that makes these matchups much tougher to predict. But I still believe in the individual matchups for both Cheese and David. And that's actually kind of surprising considering that this is the first time I've picked the FC Popplio to win all season. I'm sorry, David, I can't help it, it's a force of habit. Hopefully this makes up for my 8 weeks of negativity towards you. But we're going to shift our discussion over to the other conference, where things are a bit more interesting. We have 2 playoff spots currently open, as Maddie and Aster have occupied the other ones, and 3 teams that are eligible for them. 2 of those teams fighting for those playoff spots are the LA Nidokings and the LA Clefable. Both teams have been maddeningly inconsistent all season, so it's only fitting that they play each other, with the winner automatically getting in to one of those 2 playoff spots. This is still a very tough matchup to predict, but I have mentioned in the past that I prefer immediate offense over setup offense in the head-to-head matchup, strictly because it's faster. And it's for that reason that I'm going to lean towards taking the Nidokings to win the 3rd and final Battle of Los Angeles. Now, for the eventual loser of this game, there is still hope that they can make it into playoffs, but they have to hope that Dallas can beat Togavor in the final game we're going to discuss in this video. But considering that Dallas doesn't actually have a lot to play for in this game, that's going to be a tall order. He isn't eligible for a postseason berth, much like Zazo is. And because of that, I can't see a scenario where he stresses himself out preparing for a game that isn't going to change anything for him. Unless he wants to boost his self-confidence, which is a good motivation, admittedly. Because of that, I'm going with Toge. And the winner of the Clefable versus Nidokings game becomes all the more important. But that's going to take care of the analysis prior to Week 10's uploads. The coaches should be releasing their analyses of their games on Saturday, which is tomorrow from when this video goes up. Emphasis on the word should. And by then, you should know who is going to be able to play more games after this upcoming one. But on behalf of everyone in the National Pokeball League, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like or a comment on it. And that especially means a lot to me going on now. You see, this is going to be the last analyst video I do for this season, and certainly has been a whirlwind covering the NPL for Minor Season 4, which was the previous cycle, and then Major Season 8. I can't thank the National Pokeball League enough, especially the admins, people like Jolt, people like Stab, for believing in me and giving me this opportunity. It's truly been very, very helpful for me in figuring out where I want to go. It's certainly been a tiring 2 seasons, but I wouldn't take any of it back. I did enjoy my time here, and If this is it, then this is it. But again, haven't decided yet. Anyone who knows me knows I'm pretty bad at snap decisions, so I'll give it as much time as it needs. But it certainly has been a tiring few months, and I'm really happy to get a bit of a break from doing this sort of thing. But if you have enjoyed the analyst videos lately and you'd like to see more from the various content creators that make the NPL what it is, then you can check the description. We have the channel links to all of the coaches and analysts there. We also have links to our NPL fan Discord where you can communicate with some other fans of the National Pokeball League, as well as our Twitter account where you can follow on various announcements that we end up posting. But my name is NoPunIntended, and thank you all so much for watching. Here's to a great Week 10 of games. Until I see you next time, take care.